Hey everyone, it's Jananie and welcome back to my channel. This story ain't over. Today's video is a good old-fashioned book haul. I love doing these. I know people get tired of them, but honestly, I love hearing about new books and the ones that people are picking up, so I think it's always a good way to find new books to read. But with that said, always remember that you don't need to be buying books to be a reader. You can grab them from the library, you can grab them as ebooks. Physical books are not a sign of how good of a reader you are or, you know, the type of reader you are. You are a valid reader regardless of what you do. And also, when I haul books, I'm hauling them for technically my side business, which is doing my YouTube channel. And when I'm talking about these books, I'm not telling you to go buy them. I'm just encouraging you to go read them because I think they're gonna be fantastic, or I've read them and I think they're fantastic. And I think if you can go grab them from the library or borrow them from a friend and go read them, then that's still really awesome. We literally have a recession coming, so I feel like books are not your priority, your eggs are. But if books are what make you happy, then all the power to you. Now with that said, let's get into the books on this list. I have 12 or so books. Half of them are, I think, new releases that I've recently acquired, whether through a publisher or I've bought myself. A few of these are also romances, and then a few I also bought because I wanted to participate in the Blackathon, which is run by the lovely Jessie at Bow Ties and Books. I don't know that I'll have the opportunity to film a vlog for Blackathon, but I do want to participate in some way and read some books based off the prompts, so I did grab some books for that. Now, the first book that I have for this video and the first new release that I have is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I have been anticipating this book for ages, ever since I first read Ninth House way back in 2018, and I'm so glad that the sequel is finally here. This is a sequel to Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which is her adult contemporary fantasy series. It involves murder, it involves different magic systems and elite societies at Yale, and sort of the dark things going on. It is a bit of a dark academia, but it does have a lot more of the supernatural aspect going on. And this is the sequel, which basically picks up a little bit after the first book and expands on what we learned in Ninth House and a lot of these stories with the side characters. And we get a really fun sort of like break into hell story, which I think was just so fantastic to read. I have read this one since buying it in January when it came out, and I have my full review in my wrap up for January, so definitely go check out that video if you want to hear more thoughts on this. Overall, I loved it, and it's definitely like one of my favorite series now, and I can't wait to see where the story's gonna go in the next book. If you are curious about the fact that this book is red, whereas the original cover is actually white, this book is actually the Indigo exclusive edition, so I definitely had to go grab it because I think the red is so stunning. So speaking of Indigo, which is like the Barnes & Noble chain in Canada, I always shop there. I used to work there, and I definitely prefer buying my books from Indigo versus Amazon. But one thing that's been kind of concerning is that they had a security incident and their website has been down, and there was this like fear of, you know, personal information being leaked and that kind of thing. And this is where I really wish I had something to secure my online data, and that's where the sponsor of today's video, SurfShark VPN, comes in. So SurfShark VPN meaning virtual private network, keeps your online identity safe by encrypting all the information sent between your device and the internet. This keeps your personal data protected from both big companies and cyber criminals. A VPN swaps the real location of your device with a new one, aka changing your IP address, and allows you to virtually travel to any country around the globe. A VPN like SurfShark is great if you're someone who commutes a lot. I used to do that all through university, and one of the concerns I always had was connecting to public Wi-Fi's, which can be kind of dangerous. And a VPN like SurfShark helps you encrypt your online data and secure your personal information, making it very much harder for hackers to get to you while you're on a public Wi-Fi. I've had my credit card hacked multiple times because I've connected to a public Wi-Fi, so don't be me and be safe. Another awesome thing about SurfShark VPN is that you can change your virtual location. SurfShark has over 3,200 servers across 95 countries, which means if you're on vacation, you can change your virtual location back to your home country to not miss out on any of those comforts. SurfShark has so much to offer, and I definitely think you guys should check it out. So go use the link in my description and my code JEN-nah-nee for 83% off plus 3 extra months for free. Thanks so much to SurfShark VPN for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back into the books on this video. Alrighty, the next new release that I have on this list is the Stolen Heir by Holly Black. I definitely hemmed and hawed about getting this book. I wasn't sure if it was going to be worth it. I haven't been enjoying a lot of YA recently. I also didn't really enjoy Holly Black's adult novel, Book of Night. But I do really fondly love the Cruel Prince series, the Folk of the Air series. And this is sort of the newest installment or spin-off, you could say, which takes place 7 or 8 years after the events of Queen of Nothing and follows one of the side characters, Oak, who is now much older and I think 17, and he's dealing with his own stuff, which I think will make for a pretty interesting story, but I honestly don't know too much aside from that. I don't expect this book to wow me the way that the original series did, because part of what I loved about that series is the main characters, but I do think I love this world and I'm curious to see what Holly Black's gonna do with this book, so we'll see. I have heard some mixed-ish reviews on this, so I'm definitely keeping my expectations low, but we'll see how it goes. If you're unfamiliar with the Cruel Prince series, it's basically like a YA fantasy series and involves fairies and their politics, I would say, between the different courts and the royalty there, and it follows a main character named Jude, who is a changeling, I would say. Like, she's a human who is brought into the fairy world and raised with fairies, and she's basically trying to secure her future and ends up in a lot of political webs. Again, this book takes place many years after the end of the original series, so it's definitely going to be a little bit different and follows Oak, who is a fairy himself, but I'm interested to see like where this could go. If you've read the Folk of the Air series and if you've read this newest installment, The Stolen Heir, I would love to hear what you thought of it and if you think it lives up to the original series or if you think it's better skipped. Alrighty, the next new release that I have is one that was actually gifted to me by a friend, and that is Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. She knew that this was on like my anticipated releases list, so she grabbed it for me. This is Celeste Ng's newest book. She is the author of Little Fires Everywhere and also Everything I Never Told You. I've only read Little Fires Everywhere, and I read it last year in the summer, I think, for a video, and absolutely fell in love with it. It was definitely a favorite for 2022 for me, and part of what I loved about it was the author's writing style and sort of the subtext that was just underlying every single conversation and interaction between the characters. And I do have Everything I Never Told You, I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but I know a lot of people love that one even more than Little Fires Everywhere. So this is her newest book, and all I really know about it is that it follows our main character Bird. She's 12 years old, and in the book her father is a linguist and her mother is a poet, and there seems to be some sort of difficult relationship between her and her mother, and I think the book revolves around that relationship, but I honestly don't know too much more than that. I definitely think this one's gonna have less of that satire vibe that Little Fires Everywhere had, but I do get the sense that it'll be a pretty heartbreaking literary fiction, so I'm excited for it regardless. If you have read Our Missing Hearts and any of Celeste Ng's other books, then definitely let me know what you thought of them and also how you would rank them in terms of your enjoyment. Alrighty, the next book that I have is one that I pre-ordered ages ago, like literally the second I heard about it, and it recently came out on Valentine's Day, and that is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshni Chokshi. So this is Roshni Chokshi's newest novel, and it's actually her first adult novel, and as many of you know, Roshni Chokshi is one of my favorite authors. She's the author of The Star-Touched Queen, Crown of Wishes, the Arsha series, and also my all-time fave, the Gilded Wolves series. And of course, I was so excited when I found out she was writing an adult novel because my taste has definitely veered more into the adult space recently. And I was really excited for this book because it had very often been described as a book about the horrors of marriage, which just had me like so intrigued, and I was so excited to pick it up. I will say that I did get an ARC of this book, an advanced reader copy, back in January, so before the book came out, and I have started reading it, and to this day I haven't been able to finish it. And there are many reasons for that, and I don't want to say that this is a bad book and I don't want to deter you from picking this book up. I'm still excited to have a copy of this. It is still a very beautifully told book, but I do think my expectations going into it were very misguided for what the book actually was. So this is me here to clear things up so that you do not go into this book with the wrong expectations. So basically this book is not really about a marriage at all. It is a book that is told like a fairy tale, that feels like a fairy tale. It is very amorphous and uses a lot of beautiful language, and at times it can be frustrating. So if you're someone who didn't like Roshni Chokshi's The Star-Touched Queen, you probably won't like this book. If you were frustrated with the flowery language in that book, you'll be even more frustrated with it in this book. For me personally, that was part of what frustrated me, but mostly what frustrated me was the storyline and how I expected it to be something very different than it was. I thought it was going to be focused on the marriage, but it's actually focused on the main character Indigo and also this childhood friend that she had, and the very strong female friendship going on between them, but also the sort of fairy tale-esque setup of the entire story. If you're a reader who enjoys books that are all vibes, no plot, if you enjoy books that sort of blur the line between reality and the speculative in a way that is not always clearly explained because it's part part of the ambiance and it's part of the mystery, then you'll probably enjoy this book. But if you're someone who does not enjoy any of those things, then you probably will not like this book. I'm personally the type of reader who likes a lot of plot in my books. I like books where characters are making big decisions and moving through things and the pace takes you through in a quick way. And of course there's exceptions to that taste of mine, but I do think this one was not an exception for me. I definitely felt sort of unmoored throughout the book and I just wanted to know where it was going and like what the point of it was. Obviously I haven't like finished the book yet because I've just been dragging my feet on it. I do plan to finish it at some point, so maybe the ending of it will change something for me, but so far it didn't live up to my expectations because I expected it to be something that it wasn't. So just bear that in mind if you're planning to pick this one up. I by no means think that Roshni Chokshi is a bad writer or anything, or that this book is bad. I do think though that you should remember that it's very much a fairy tale, very much all vibes, and is focused on this female friendship and carries an air of mystery through every page of the book. So you're always constantly wondering, well, what happened? Really. Alrighty, the next book that I have on this list is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. This is the highly anticipated final installment of the Last Hours series. So if you are unfamiliar with Cassandra Clare books, she has a whole universe of books called the Shadowhunter books, and there are multiple series, and this is one of these series that's set in the 1900s, and it's sort of a sequel series, you could say, to the Infernal Devices because it follows many of the children of those characters in that original series. And honestly, I love the Shadowhunter books. Like, I've basically loved every book that Cassandra Clare has put out. I think the only series that I didn't fully get immersed in was the Dark Artifices series, which I still to this day haven't read the last book in that series, but I do think I have been enjoying this series a bit more than some of the other ones, so I'm excited to see how it's gonna end. There were a lot of crazy revelations in the second book and some crazy decisions from the characters, so I'm interested to see how those are gonna shake out in this book, and I hope that my ship ends up together, but we'll see how that goes. Obviously, because it's a Cassandra Clare book, it's ridiculously fucking long, but it's fine, we're gonna get through it. I do think Cassandra Clare books are always a treat though to read because it's like you're returning home to characters that are beloved and ones that just feel like family, so I always do enjoy the books regardless, and I'm excited to see what I think of this. I have been seeing some of my friends online who read this book as soon as it came out saying that they had sort of mixed feelings about it, so I'm interested to see what I personally am gonna think. If you have read the Last Hour series and also the final installment, then let me know what you thought of it and how you think it compares to the previous two books and also to some of the conclusions of the other series. I'd love to hear what you guys think because I'm just honestly so curious. Alrighty, next up I have 3 books that I bought to read for Blackathon, which I'm really excited for. You should definitely go check out Blackathon as well. I'll leave the links down below. Jessie set up multiple types of prompts that you can base your TBR off, so there's definitely one for every type of reader. And Jessie was also able to create a recommendation video based off of each of those types of prompts, so you should definitely go check those out as well because I got so many great book recs. So the first book that I have is Lakewood by Megan Giddings, and I am so excited to pick this one up because I believe it was put in the horror category for the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I've also seen it around a lot. The cover is absolutely stunning and it seems exactly like the book I would enjoy. Basically, this book follows our main character Lena, who is a Black millennial, and when her grandmother dies, it reveals a lot of family debt going on. So Lena decides to drop out of college and take this job in this remote small town called Lakewood in Michigan. On paper, the job seems pretty amazing. All Lena has to do is participate in a secret research program, which will lead to a lot of life-changing discoveries, including an eye drop that could change your eye color, or a medication that could cure dementia, or a pill that will make your bad thoughts go away. But of course, nothing is as good as it seems, and the consequences for these subjects could be quite horrifying. The one line from the description that had me absolutely hooked to read this book was provocative and thrilling. Lakewood is a breathtaking novel that takes an unflinching look at the horror that has been forced on Black bodies in the name of science. This is by no means a new concept or one that is part of a sci-fi dystopia. This is something that has actually happened in history as well. Like the horrors and terrible things that have been done to Black bodies in the name of science, that's a very true fact. So I think this is gonna be quite an interesting novel that's gonna have a lot of commentary, and I am here for it. The next book that I picked up is one that I've heard so many amazing things about, and I honestly just want to know what the hype is about, and I'm excited to check it out. So that book is The Death of Vivek Oji. This is by Akwaeke Emezi. I've heard so many amazing things about this author, and they've written quite a few other books that I know are all critically acclaimed. All I really know about this book is that it involves a death of a character and it's set in a Nigerian town. And I believe based on the description, it flips between like multiple timelines, like before the death and after. And so I'm really intrigued. It seems like it's going to be a really heartbreaking sort of family and community story, and I am here for it. It feels like one of those literary fictions that's just going to break my heart, and it's going to be a new favorite, so I'm really excited for it. The next book is one that I'm so freaking hyped for, and it is another horror, and it is one that I think I'm gonna absolutely fall in love with, and it seems exactly up my alley. And that book is House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. So I do want to preface this by saying that I have picked up Alexis Henderson's other book, The Year of the Witching, and I honestly couldn't get into it. There was something about it that was just really dense for me, but that's not to say I won't try picking it up again. And I feel like this book is just particularly more my vibe. I'm definitely more of a vampire person than a witch person, I feel like, and this book definitely involves some sort of blood-sucking situation. And from what I've heard, this also involves some sort of sapphic romance or sapphic relationship going on. And it also happens to be a bit of a gothic horror, which is my favorite type of horror book. I absolutely love gothic horrors, and they make for some really fun, juicy, delectable, and angsty reads. In terms of plot, all I really know about this is that it follows our main character Marion, who is from the slums, and in the far north, in the upper echelons of society, the very wealthy nobility have these people that they keep in service whose blood they drink. And so the main character Marion ends up becoming one of these blood maids and is entrapped in this house of hunger, and the story kind of goes from there. And I think she's the blood maid to this like countess, which has me excited. So yeah, I think this is gonna be fantastic. I definitely wish I had picked this one up during Halloween last year, but I was a little bit apprehensive about picking it up because I didn't really get into The Year of the Witching, but I have higher hopes now, so I'm excited to pick this one up sometime soon. I feel like I'm always in the mood for horror and like thrilling books, especially gothic horrors, so I feel like this one's gonna be a hit for me. If you have read House of Hunger, let me know what you thought of it, especially if you have also read The Year of the Witching and you enjoyed this one more. Like, I wanna know if I'll probably end up liking this one, even though I wasn't really feeling the other one. So next up I have some romances. So first I have Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I am so excited to pick this one up because I heard Chandler talk about this one in her Best Books of 2022 video. She talked about it as one of her honorable mentions for the year, and I've also seen this book all over TikTok, so that's part of the reason why I was so excited to pick it up. And I will be reading this one for a romance video that is coming soon. I am just trying to finish the vlog and the other books in the video, so stay tuned for that. You can hear my thoughts about this book in that video. Basically, this book is a second chance romance about a Black couple who divorced after the death of multiple people around them. And it's a story about grief and family and also like mental health, I would say. And there's so many things going on in the book that I think were so well done, and it is such a beautiful romance as well. It's got a lot of heavy themes to it, and I think you should definitely check the content warnings before picking it up, but a lot of it is sort of talked about as something that like happened in the past, and so all these characters are trying to heal and grow and move on, and I think that's part of why it was like such a beautiful read, and I think the way that the characters come together is just so freaking beautiful. So yeah, absolutely love this one, definitely go check it out. Alrighty, and then the last two books I have on this list are ones that I think I've mentioned in a few other videos, but I realized I never hauled them. So first up I have The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. This is one that I'm really excited for. It seems like it's going to be a really cozy fantasy romance. It follows our main character Mika Moon, who is a witch. She's got magical powers, but she's also an orphan, so she's never really had people around her to explain her situation and what's going on. But she does happen to have a bunch of social media channels, I think, and on them she sort of talks about being a witch, but like she says it in like a, you know, fake ironic way, and people obviously don't believe that she's actually a witch, and so it's just like this fun thing for her, and she honestly doesn't expect anyone to believe her until someone actually does. So this is where the location of the book comes in. So there's this message that Mika receives from this mysterious place called Nowhere House, and they're inviting her there to potentially teach these three young witches how to control their powers. And of course, when she gets there, she meets some interesting characters, including Jamie, who is the prickly librarian at Nowhere House, and it seems like there's a romance there as well. This one is definitely giving me a lot of vibes similar to The House on the Cerulean Sea, and the main character is South Asian, I believe, so I am excited overall. Alrighty, and the final book that I have for this book haul is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I've heard so many amazing things about this book. It was a self-published novel and then later picked up by a traditional publisher. It's been viral all over TikTok and I know so many people love it, so I'm really excited to pick it up. And I think the concept alone is like what got me, because it is a high fantasy with low stakes. So it follows an orc who is like a bounty hunter and has gone through a lot of bloodshed and all of that, and her name's Viv, and she's sort of battle weary and done with this whole lifestyle, so she decides to settle down in the city and open a coffee shop. And it's so cute, this whole concept. And obviously there's like people from her past life who don't want her to be happy and have vendettas and that kind of thing, so she has to deal with all of that. But the main thing is that she's opening this coffee shop and doing this very mundane life thing in this fantasy world, and I love it. I've always wanted more books that are like set in these beautiful high fantasy worlds but like have low stakes. I feel like I'm not the only one who thinks this, but whenever we get these like really beautiful and amazing high fantasy worlds, I am always thinking like, I wonder what like the regular person in town, what their life is like, or one of the people who's not saving the world, what are they up to in this really amazing and beautiful magical world? Like, what would that be like? What would it feel like to live in that world if you were just like a regular Joe, you know? So I'm so curious to see how this one goes, and I've heard so many amazing things, so I think I'm gonna really love it, and I'm just like saving it for when I want like a really nice treat. Alrighty, with that said, those are all the books on this haul. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and that you found a new book rec to pick up. I'm definitely excited for all of these and can't wait to pick them up. There's so many great new releases, but also backlist books that I'm discovering that I just can't wait to pick up. As always with my book hauls, if you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them so I can prioritize my TBR and know what to expect when I'm getting into these books. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to SurfShark VPN for sponsoring today's video. Definitely go check out the link in my description and grab 83% off plus 3 extra months free with my code JEN-nah-nee. If you want to get regular updates on what I'm reading and what I'm up to, definitely go check out my Instagram and TikTok in the description down below. And if you want to check out any of my previous book hauls, check out the playlist of them over here. As always, I will see you guys in my next video, and please remember that this story ain't over. Bye!